as I'm nearing more modifications that are going to require more electrical needs, especially those that are going to go into the camper shell and topper, that becomes the point of my next conversation, which is how are we going to address reserve power and how are we going to make a system that keeps that up so that when we do go off the grid and want to power up and maintain some of those accessories and usage with the vehicle off, where do we get the power from? So starting off, you can see I'm running an Optima setup, and I'm just getting them charged up here. I just got these in, putting them on the conditioner to get them up to spec before I install them. And you'll see the two choices I've made. The DM6, which is the yellow top that you see here, will be the replacement battery for the factory flooded battery up front. Now this will provide me with great cranking amperage, an improvement over stock, and as well a little bit more reserve for when I'm going to be using that winch and other powered accessories with that smart alternator. And that's something to consider now with late model vehicles, is the smart alternators aren't always putting out that 14-volt source all the time, charging components and providing that power to any of the demand accessories out there. Those smart alternators were created as a need for miles per gallon and emissions type issues. And while they do help with that, they do pose some issues with charging and maintaining batteries that are auxiliary to the primary. That means we have to address how are we going to charge. What I'm going to put in there is 2 of the marine style batteries in the camper shell to take care of all of my offline needs. And to do that, we need to use what's called a DC to DC charger. I haven't quite decided where I'm going to go with that and which particular product I'm going to use, but those chargers do have a signal line that goes to the alternator so it can determine when that power is being provided to adequately charge those batteries when necessary. And of course, getting that signal wire will let different types of DC to DC chargers work in different ways. So that's something we'll have to consider, and I'll go into more details when that time comes. The big thing that we're looking at here today is putting in a system that's going to provide better cold cranking amps for the startup, a great amount of power for when I'm going to be using those accessories while the vehicle is on, but then creating a storage system to make sure that I can use all of my off-grid parts and even potentially address some of the issues with solar. So Optima has got a couple of solutions here for us on the battery storage side, and I'll just be looking for what we can do for the charging and recharging and seeing what the solar world has to offer. Here are the 2 batteries I selected. I'm going to go over some of the reasons why these batteries will fit my needs. In specific, I'm going to address some of the main things, which are why 2 deep cycle batteries. If you're familiar with Optima's lineup, the deep cycle battery is going to be the yellow top as well as the blue top, and they do have a starting battery, which is the red top. Now, one of the things that I'm more concerned with is the high demand that's going to be placed on the battery with it while it's running, as well as while it's not running. So while it's running, the yellow top is going to take care of my high demand needs, such as when I'm winching or I have the majority of my lights running. These are all things that I have to consider, especially because the vehicle is equipped with a smart alternator. We're not getting that continuous amperage and that continuous voltage to charge it, so the ability of the battery to take a charge and discharge faster is a huge advantage. Now, that's not something you get with any battery. In particular, if you look at this one, this has a deviation from what I would call the traditional spiral cell tech look, and that's what the round cells that you see here in the flat plate design. Now, this is something that Optima has recently introduced, and it's a proprietary design that allows them to use a flat plate similar to what you would see in a flooded battery, but they do so with many more, and they're a lot thinner, which means they have a ton more surface area. And the combination of their technology and that additional surface area gives you the ability to have a higher than normal discharge rate and a higher than normal recovery rate. So here, I actually get an improvement of cold cranking amps over the flooded battery, and I also get a better charge rate, which means they can recover quicker when I'm out there pulling all that amperage, trying to tug myself or another truck out with the winch. Now, addressing more of what that flooded battery is limited to in kind of my application is the spill-proof sort of vibration resistant technology is a big plus for me. I hit those trails and I'm going to be doing, high speeds and hitting bumps, and the flooded battery is subject to having spillage or having vent tubes to deal with. But moreover, if that battery strap, which we've seen in a ton of applications if you've been out before, comes loose and that battery does move around, you don't have to worry about that battery getting a short or not functioning. These batteries can be mounted in any position, and that's something that I find is the huge advantage of going to the blue top in the back. As you can see, it's a much bigger battery, and because of the physical size, I'm going to put these on their side, and that does not affect their functionality at all. Now, since they are both a sort of deep cycle battery, I should say sort of, but are deep cycle batteries, you're going to find that the difference here is mainly in the lugs. This fits the design that's more traditional of the packaging in the engine compartment, while this provides you with the standard lug, and in addition to that, you have the actual 1/4 inch threaded spines for more accessories. As I'm going to be running 2 of these in parallel to be my storage devices, having the extra plug connection points is going to be critical to making those work out. So great to have a battery that's going to be not only spill proof and absorb all the vibration that's going to be exposed in both cases, but having a battery that fits up front and works in the engine compartment in the way that the factory battery has, and not sacrificing either in power or size, and then having the battery I need for storage in the back. So Optima's provided a bunch of solutions out there, and of course if you take a look at the website, they can find more and see which applications will be a drop-in fit for your vehicle, or the batteries that might be something that's more custom for your battery storage needs. So there's why I selected the Optima batteries and the particular models I did. Next up, I've got to come up with a mounting solution to put the 2 blue tops in the back, and then wire up everything to a DC to DC charger and isolator. So stay tuned, more electrical coming, and the final output of my charging and electrical system.